Dukes at the OG Social Network Podcast. I am here with David and Pam Nicponski of Freshly Baked NYC. Excellent. Freshly Baked NYC here in Little Italy in the Bronx. I have interviewed David before at Combody, and we found the video, thank God, and just got everything out. But I wanted to go on location and introduce you to two great people that have gone through some amazing trials and tribulations just to get here, from application to ready grand opening. So I am going to just go ahead and go forward and just start introducing you to David and Pam, and tell us, how has it been so far since you've opened up?
Well, thanks for having us on your podcast here. It has been interesting. It's been an entirely different set of challenges compared to getting the doors open in the first place. I feel like the first 460 days until getting the grand opening happen, we're basically getting ourselves racing to get to the start of the race, if that makes sense. And so now we're actually in the race. The race has begun, and we're operating every week. We're trying to grow, trying to get our name out there, trying to get raise public awareness for existence, which itself was surprisingly difficult. Even after our grand opening and our ground game efforts, 2 weeks later, we were asking people kind of pull on the street, "Hey, did you know that there was a legal dispensary here?" No. 3 blocks away, they had no idea we were here. People didn't know the difference between a legal dispensary and an illegal dispensary. That's just starting to change now that we're seeing the New York City Sheriff's enforcement beginning in the area. There's been some kind of inertia of some of the neighborhood residents and business owners, some of whom also didn't know the difference between a licensed, legitimate dispensary and illegal smoke shop, and were a little resistant to having this in the neighborhood to begin with. But we've seen perceptions change. It just takes time and effort, and it's a bit of a grind.
Yeah, I think that the biggest challenge is so people can understand or can see that having a legal dispensary, it doesn't equal to have people smoking outside or loitering. So it's different than any other, like a smoke shop or a pop-up legal shop.
Well, you want to add more credibility to the dispensary retail industry. What a lot of the community boards that I've spoken with, their main concern was that, will there be loitering? Will there be this? Does it bring it down? And I just basically say, we're actually a million miles ahead of, say, a liquor shop. Okay, liquor shop, y'all got people loitering out front all the time. You have people, although they don't drink or consume, they're not allowed to, they still do it. But when it comes to a dispensary, cannabis dispensary, we want to bring more credibility, right? We want to enhance the community, right? So, how has the community here in Little Italy received you so far?
Generally, reception has been, I would say, cautiously positive and optimistic. Long before we opened, when we were still scouting out the location, when we first got the location, we started to build out, etc., we took the opportunity to engage with, meet, and introduce ourselves to many of the business owners and operators. And the majority of them, not just a third, but the majority of them were actually welcoming and cautiously optimistic, interested to hear about our journey, what we were intending to do, what we expected the change in the neighborhood to be, if any, as a result. And then a small minority were very, very concerned. We're seeing perceptions kind of shift now that we're nearing our 2-month opening mark. We're seeing that we're not bringing, we're not damaging the neighborhood.
Right.
We're good players. Our windows are not frosted. People can walk by and look in, so there's nothing sketchy happening.
Yeah, that's what I like too.
We've got a lot of positive comments about that. Right? It's really that one decision appears to have carried more than its weight in terms of changing the local neighborhood. There are still people who don't want to see it, but that's always going to be the case. You're going to have some people. You're going to have some people whose minds you can never change. But everybody who appears to have been receptive to the idea, whether they were excited or not, is seeing that we're good players, and they seem to be generally going to that for us.
When I first met you, you were close to looking like a Nazi concentration camp victim. The man literally weighed like 110 few pounds.
So,
Most of it was your hair. But I saw that you were diligent in making sure you were going to make this work. You're like, I don't want just delivery. I want this goddamn store. You got past the injunction. You got past a lot of obstacles. What was it like for you? Give me one experience that you thought this is not going to work. I mean that you know what I mean? Like what got you over this hill?
yeah.
Like, for you, yeah. I mean, you can just do one thing, nothing crazy. What was it that, like, you were like 1 minute, I don't think this is going to work. And then the next minute it just clicked.
Yes, yeah.
So for me, there's actually one very clear point in 2023 where my entire mental model of how this would all play out just basically got shattered.
Mm-hmm.
That was sitting in the courthouse in Justice Bryant's courtroom
Mm-hmm.
For the PRO hearing in the Carmine Fiore versus New York State and Control Board.
Yes.
It was in 2023.
23? Oh, yeah, that's right.
I want to say August of 2023.
Right.
I was there, a whole bunch of card licensees, my fellow licensees had all busted up. We were all there excited because none of us are lawyers, we're all trying to break our way into the industry here.
Mm-hmm.
Based on our initial reading of the complaints in that case, we said, oh, this is going to be an open and shut case. The state's going to win, we're all going to move on with our lives and move forward. When the hearing started and the judge asked the defendant's attorney about whether there was a proximity protection rule in place that would carve out sections of real estate
Mm-hmm.
for licensees when they opened, and she said no, the audible gasp and groan in the room was palpable.
Mm-hmm.
Just everyone watched their dreams just shatter.
Mm-hmm.
If the state's best defense didn't understand the state's regulation.
Right.
When I heard that, and then we walked out, it was very clear the judge was seemed inclined to grant the restraining order, which he ended up granting the injunction.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happened, when it seemed that was going to happen, that just seemed like what appeared to be well thought out plans, or at least a plausible set of pathways to get open, had just gone up in smoke. And at this point, we had already invested well over a year of our time and effort.
I remember that.
What I've been working on more than full time.
That's when we first met.
Yeah. So that was a punch to the gut. You mentioned like having lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
It was during that 4-month period
Yeah,
when
I
everything
know.
was unknown
I
and
know.
uncertain.
So it was basically your cooking that kept it. Okay. All right.
100%.
Yeah. No, but go ahead.
So that was very traumatic, and uncertainty really weighed on me heavily because I have a family and we need to support our family, keep our kids fed, keep our house in place.
Mm-hmm.
We have a daughter who is on her way off to college now.
Yeah, congratulations. I met her.
Thank you. But all of this is a responsibility.
Right.
Suddenly, what we thought was going to be not smooth, but like a straightforward path toward opening, suddenly, everything was just the party shuts, basically. But we can give up, or we can just say, what I can say, I'm too stubborn to let a little adversity like this ruin a good opportunity. I know, as stubborn as I am can match me. And
I can tell already. I can
This is
tell.
why we're such a good team.
I can tell.
So we said we're going to power our way through this. We're going to find a way to pick up the pieces and do whatever we're going to do to move forward. And hopefully drag as many of our fellow licensees who were similarly, concerned, justifiably so. We'll figure out the path forward together. So we did.
Do you feel the delivery service helped you, at least kind of covered you for a while? Did it help?
No.
Wow.
So that's
No, please.
Yeah, it's a little too dismissive of an answer. It was important in the same way that health or life insurance is important.
Right.
In that there were several lawsuits prior to 2024 that were filed against the state. Many of them had requested partial or complete injunctions freezing up the state.
Right.
Up to that point, most of those injunction requests have been granted. However, the injunctions that have been granted all carved out an exception for currently operational dispensaries. So since we got frozen in the injunction in the Fiore case, after we had reserved our delivery, or rented at least our delivery space, we built it out, we were already paying the commercial costs, just without any revenue.
Right.
And the lawsuit dragged on. 4 months later, when that injunction was finally lifted, after the settlement was reached, it was very clear that with 4 additional lawsuits in the pipeline,
Right.
at least one of which was also going through Justice Bryant's courtroom,
Yeah.
that we had to have our legal sales on the books as quickly as possible.
Right.
We had to be operational litigation by hook or by crook so that we could fit into the exemption on any future injunctions that we granted. So it was exceedingly important to me and to us as a business that we get open, get our legal sales on the books, which we did. Our first legal sale was the day before the injunction hearing of the next lawsuit that came up.
Right.
It turns out that none of them got granted injunctions, but you work on that information that you had at the time.
Right.
And so this was it was a risk that we saw that could have played out the same way the Fury lawsuit did. So we did the risk mitigation stuff and getting all this stuff. From a business perspective, it's never been a sufficiently high volume and profitable business line that it would carry us for long on its own. But it did help us start reaching our initial set of customers, get our name recognition out there, and has steadily picked up week over week, month over month. It's the point now where it has its own set of employees, and it's an actual real business at this point.
Have you seen a rise in your delivery? Reception.
We have, and it was slow growth at first, but the growth really accelerated when we opened up our retail store here. And part of that, I think, is name recognition just from having people come to the store and know about the store, and then they go, I remember this thing, and I can Google it and get delivered at home. But another thing is there's the first little thing to the economy is a scale. When you order inventory from your supply chain, your suppliers have minimum order sizes. And so if you have a certain amount of capital that you want to spend building your initial inventory, you basically have to choose how to allocate that. But you can't spread it too thin because you have to buy at least a case of this or a case of that.
Right.
So limited capital just limits the amount of the size of your menu and the selection that your customers get. That was very clearly a limiting factor for a delivery service. When we opened this place up, we had the opportunity to reshuffle some inventory, move some from the delivery that wasn't selling very well, move it here, get some prominence, and then we get it moving.
Right.
But also the converse. We were going to make some of the inventory here and move it back to the delivery side and expand our menu. And when we did that, we started to see real customer response to it.
Okay. What got you, because you look like you're a school teacher, didn't want you to smoke weed. What got you in the business? What got you to come into the cannabis industry? Are you or do you smoke? I don't think you smoke. You dad.
Okay.
All right, you dad. You do rigs. No, but really, I mean, what got you into it?
Well, after I have Peter, my last kid, I was thinking I had to do something after this, and I'm going to stay home. I mean, I love it, but he is going to have school and stuff, and I have to find something to do with my time. And I just started looking for ideas what I can do, business like start something. And the first thing that I read one day was that New York was entertaining idea to legalize.
Yes.
That's when we say that this thing is going to happen. Should we do it? I don't know. And we talk about it kind of joking, but he said alerts, so any news that it would come up, it would pop up in his phone.
Right.
And when the application window started, it was like, hey, this is happening, let's do it. And that's we started.
You just went into it, both of you then.
Pam is a very entrepreneurial person with a history of entrepreneurship. She's had her own business, a couple of different businesses over the course of her life. I've had a couple, mostly smaller consultancy that she's actually run started businesses. So when she saw the idea, that there was the potential for the idea of getting into retail cannabis, she said, I was almost half joking. She's thinking, what business should she start next?
So y'all started from just the half joking on this.
Half joking. And I'm a technologist, so I'm like, oh, that's funny. Can you imagine us doing this? I'll put a Google alert in. Meanwhile,
that's crazy.
6 months later, when I fired it, I looked at the eligibility criteria that we published for the upcoming window. I said, I'm not going to freaking believe this, but I actually meet all the requirements for the eligibility. So then we started taking it more seriously, did some analysis, that it could be a potentially valuable business opportunity. And we had to make a hard decision because I've been in software engineering and had a job upcoming, accepted an offer for that would have been continuing my career in finance and computer science. So we decided we want to continue that route. We want to take a detour here and see what this one, where this world takes us. And ultimately, we ended up settling on this. And like I said, I'm too
I think just, I've been meeting people that knew about legalization for years, right? It was coming and they planned for it. Y'all were just sitting in the bedroom one day and said, I'm just joking, and it manifested. That's amazing. For I know I want to go back to products, right? I've been meeting a lot of stores, dispensary owners, for example. Jose Verdier, he's a great guy. He's opening up Ignite over in Wilmington, and he did an amazing over the year. Did his own little testing and benchmark ways of making sure what products were going to go in the store. And he had high marks for many different products that did not get in the store. Do you have like do you test the product? Do you make sure what comes in is what it's supposed to be? The vendors, basically, because a lot of like dispensaries have like 2, 3, 4, almost 500 SKUs. That half of those won't be sold in that neighborhood or in that area. So have you customized your inventory, so to speak, for this community?
So yes, we did start with, we got that stuff here. So there is a process of inventory curation and menu curation that we go through. It may or may not be the same as what we all do, but it's what people probably should be doing if they want to have a chance of success in the industry. We started with our best guess of what we think, based on our initial research and talking to people, what we think people in the neighborhood will want, what the split by category should be, what would be the brands that would be of interest to people. Now, parenthetically note here, New York cannabis is brand new, so when we say brands, we're not, these are like baby brands.
Right.
We're trying to make brands.
Right.
Brands in cannabis are going to be like cookies or like other things that are known nationally, been around for years.
Right.
That's maybe just too young for that.
Mm-hmm.
So we did do our initial testing, our initial speculation is what we thought the right distribution across products, brands, SKUs, et cetera, would be. But then really at that point, it's all like scientific method. You have to be numbers, you have to be quantitative, you have to say what sells, what doesn't, how long does it sit on shelves for, what do we have to do to move it, we have to lower prices, et cetera. So we have to look at what the customers are telling you by their behavior in aggregate, and you have to be responsive to it. If they're telling you through their behavior that they're not going to buy a $100 vape, then you can't sell them a $100 vape.
That's right.
$100 is not the right price for that vape.
Right.
On the other hand, if they buy, $45 vape and they're buying it consistently, then that's the thing that you want. You want more of it.
Right.
So over time, you have to evolve your inventory in response to customer demand and customer behavior, and that's what we do.
That's what I'd say cannabis is doing. They realize that not many people can afford their vapes, right? Or want to spend $40, $50 for an vape. So they're willing to sell like $5, $10 pre-rolls or set up the packaging where people can buy a dime or whatever. Is that compliant, by the way, or can you sell $5 pre-rolls and stuff like that? And
Well, we can't repackage, so we can't take that.
right, no, I got that. Yeah. I mean, like your vendors can come in and say, hey, you can sell this pre-roll for $5.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'll also point out, like the vendors don't actually get to dictate the retail price. They can dictate the wholesale price.
Right, the wholesale.
And they have to be compliant with regulations. They
Right.
have to be consistent across the board. And they have the same rules for what they sell and at what price to us. They have to sell to the next person, the next person, the next person.
Mm-hmm.
They can do things like volume weighted discounts, but they can't just say, we don't want your retail price, we're not going to sell to you, we're going to charge you more. In terms of whether we can sell cheap pre-rolls or $5 pre-rolls or cheap rates, sure, yeah, we can sell them at whatever price we go willing to buy them at, and whether it makes good business sense or not is a separate question.
I was speaking with a couple of dispensary owners regarding the lack of, not many want to go federal. They want to wait until the market is strong enough and then go federal. How do you feel about that? Because they're concerned about the influx of out-of-state products over.
Yeah. Well, so the interesting thing on the retail side, we're already facing competition from out-of-state products.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it's stocking the unlicensed stores that only gross 100 to 1.
Right.
So we're already competing with them
Right.
on unfair footing. So would I personally, as a retailer, mind seeing interstate commerce? No, probably not. It would drive price competition. It would drive brand competition. It would ultimately be good for consumers. consumers, will drive prices down. Might not be the greatest for profit margins for retailers, but it's good for the industry as a whole. However, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I don't see any pragmatic way that it will happen anytime soon. The federal government, any government, moves slowly by design. The federal government is going to move slowly by design. And by the time a real interstate market exists for this, it's probably years ago. It's not soon.
Yeah, I'm just kind of glad it's the way it is now. I think we're appreciating, this is going to be like our golden age for a minute, you know what I mean? Because we're also going to be the world capital of cannabis as well. And the reason why I'm having the cannabis tours is because I don't want people to focus on brand name. They need to focus on who's growing it, who's processing it. That I feel. We've already seen certain brands, a couple of months, they would come out, a couple months later, they found out they had mold, or it wasn't tested the way it was supposed to be tested, or it wasn't the percentage it was supposed to be. The testing labs you've got to find the right testing labs. I know y'all don't have to worry about that. But speaking with the farmers and processors, they really rely on a very reputable, credible testing lab to make sure products and services are coming in. So for me, it's to educate the consumer on what is coming into their body. Also, too, I think, a lot of these dispensaries need to realize that these are kind of like pseudo pharmacies. You understand?
Don't tell the state that.
Huh?
I said, yes, but don't tell the state that.
No, it's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to say you're providing it health and wellness. I've been a pothead for 45 years. I've gone through my little anxieties, depressions, or whatever, and doctors want to give me this, or whatever. And I think it just wasn't it, those type of medicines. So for me, marijuana has been a saving grace. So I don't drink, don't like needles, and don't do any of that. So for marijuana is like the most holistic experience without having to go. You know what I mean? Then the next thing is beer. For me, it's beer.
Beer is demonstrably more harmful to society as a whole.
Yeah.
Even though I also like it.
Yeah, I know, but I love me some beer.
Yeah.
But I mean, like as we move on in this great journey it's a great adventure. You and I spoke about this, about making sure you have a group of people to protect you. Remember, you talked about the health care. If all the dispensaries came together and went to and developed the health care for their employees, that would be amazing. It saves so much money. Are there organizations that you can rely on that can help you lobby in Washington to protect their interests? And who are they?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel bad.
No. Pam is our eye candy for the interview. She's so beautiful. We'll just let her sit here. Pam is amazing. Okay, that's all I care about.
I will definitely defer to her for the questions about the health and wellness side, and
Right.
I think she'll have some very good insights in that.
That's the next person.
In terms of lobbying and political presence, yes, there are organizations that do that. The Cannabis Association of New York is one. The New York Cannabis Retailers Association is another. There's the Long Island Cannabis Coalition, if I'm not mistaken. Although they might tell me for doing that
That's
one.
okay. Still, they know.
They know they
Yeah.
are. And there has been talk, although I haven't yet seen it come to fruition, about possibly getting a retail-specific, New York City-specific lobby group in place. These things have existed for a little while. They have varying levels of effectiveness, but they are effective. The lobbyist for NYCA, the New York Cannabis Retailers Association, is well connected. He knows how politics works in Albany and in the city. He knows what are the right buttons to push and the right conversations to have with the right people. Vince is the guy's name.
What's the last? I don't remember this.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
That's okay.
I think it's
Hi,
like
Vincent.
Malone, maybe Vince Marone, I think.
Right.
But yeah, he has helped craft language in various legislation in Albany that has been useful for both legislature and the government. He's been able to pull on the right strings to get policy shifted in the way that retailers and advocate would like. And he's been helpful even to us on an individual basis, and that they would help connect us with local elected officials. For example, recently we were able to engage with State Senator Rivera's office and explain our situation, provide information about all the unlicensed dispensaries in the area, what they were doing, which one posed particular health or public safety risks, and they were able to basically get the New York City Sheriff's Office involved and start closing and potentially padlocking some of these places. We're going to do it in a priority order. Ones that pose a real risk to public safety are the ones that are prioritized.
Right.
But that kind of engagement, both with the state senator and with the New York City Sheriff, would not have happened that well and that smoothly without the help of the lobbyists who connect us. So these people do exist. For anybody who is considering getting into the industry, find your association. The NYCRA for retailers, the candy for cultivators, whatever the appropriate one is. If you don't know, just ask. We'll point you in the right direction. But it's a marathon, not a sprint, and it's more like a relay race.
A relay
Like a
race.
relay race.
Yeah.
You have to go with a full team and not just by yourself, or you're going to burn out.
Yeah.
With team support, you can make it, and there's power in numbers.
Excellent. Now, getting to the health and wellness. So we're going to leave that. This is what I want to hear because my fairy goddaughters, they're really deep into that, the health and wellness, introducing people to yoga, to spirituality, to connecting with your environment, everything around you. What do you what is it that you want to promote in health and wellness in the cannabis?
I do have some projects that will involve health and wellness. In my personal experience, I started trying different products because I suffer from pain. So some days I feel really hard without being like completely at night, cowering by that.
No.
So seeing that, I think that there is a lot of potential, and it can change also the perception of marijuana. That is not just smoking and wasting your whole day and your whole life. It can, as everything, if you use it in a responsible manner, it can be very beneficial.
What products do you recommend in your store that would help in that way for people that don't smoke? Do you know?
Oh, like edibles?
Like edibles, balms. For example, I've been to a couple of the dispensaries that seem to deal with more with topicals. People don't want to ingest; they want to feel more topicals and THC as well. But I mean, do you?
Yeah, I do have a cream that I apply in the element very, very slowly. And that is, it really helps.
Yes.
It is.
Who's the cream? Don't, it's not secret. It's okay. It's all right.
I actually don't remember the name.
No worries.
I don't remember the name, but it's like a whole own thing that is.
Because a lot of the, I think that's where you're going to see a big blow up. It's going to be in culinary and in like pharmaceutical, topical bombs. There's a scientist, a young lady too. She's one of the couple people that are developing menstrual pills that are cannabis based to help with menstrual cycle, stuff like that. So, when I said earlier before, like y'all are going to be like a pharmacy, it's important to be able to have your bud tenders trained and know what they're talking about, right? So, what type of formal training do your bud tenders have to be able to sell marijuana products?
They have to take classes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So several of our bud tenders go through the hospitality pathways path into the industry. Beatrice is the lovely woman who runs that and puts them through a rigorous educational program. And she does it in a humorous way where the students who graduate out of this, they love her, they respect her, and they are.
Who's is hospitality?
Hospitality pathways.
Yeah, I love her.
And you know, they misdeed in a
Yeah, Miss B, yeah.
And at the end of it, the minds are blown. They have great respect over for what they've learned, and for her also a newfound appreciation of how much they didn't know going in.
Right.
So the story shows tells the dispensary licensees is that she'll get them in there and she'll say, oh, who knows what they're talking about with pot? And everybody raises their hand because they've smoked joints. And then she'll start talking about some of the science behind it. Be like, oh, just repeat that, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, everyone realizes, like, wait a minute, they actually don't know all the details that they will need. So that's a good like baseline start, and most of our bartenders, many of our bartenders will come through that pathway. We also do periodic refresher courses. We bring in brands. They get to talk about the composition of their products and what the usage and benefits are, et cetera, the effects, the terpenes, and whatnot. And that's kind of an ongoing thing. You keep them up to date. And the stuff that we have is they absorb this information like sponges.
Yeah,
they
of course.
They are good.
I've seen a lot of the labor force are very excited about being in a dispensary and doing this, because I know if I were like their age, I would have definitely applied to so many places, and I would have been top seller. You wouldn't need no one else. I'd just need 2 days off. Because, I was telling all the young people, like, yeah, you don't know, this happened in my family. Elon Musk would not be
You can go and send around.
all of us. Big ass leaf on the fucking rocket. Yes. But I mean, it's like, I see the excitement in these young people. They really want to do it. And I hold a bartender forum every Wednesday on Zoom. Let them come on, and it's therapeutic and it's private. But I've heard some horror stories as well. And that I keep telling people, you got to remember that those that were part of the card and social equity, these were former drug dealers. These weren't your Harvard business people. They do things differently. Right?
I'm actually really glad you mentioned that. One of the things that so I don't want to use the cliche that like we're all family. No, it's a business.
Yeah, it's
we're
a business.
Team.
Yeah.
They're a team.
Yes.
But it's a business. And so folks that are excited and interested, having learned more about the product itself,
right,
are excited to be part of the industry, often still have a big gap in the business side of how you can have a dispensary, you can have products, and you can be excited about it and sell it in a way without any kind of conscious and coordinated thought. Then you're going to go out of business when the business fails.
That's right.
So one of the things that's necessary is you have to have a solid business plan, you have to have solid business operations, et cetera, and retail fundamentals. And this is one of the things that when you're first interviewing people, we kind of hold it for. What are your interests? What do you want to get out of this? The folks that we wanted to kind of shuffle towards a more managerial track, a more leadership track, let's say, are those that actually wanted to get the holistic view, not just an appreciation for the products, but how do you run a profitable or at least like a sustainable business? What are the retail fundamentals that you need to learn? What are the ways that you have to think about pricing? What are the ways you have to think about marketing to these things? You can do marketing. What is the structure that you need in order to have a cost-effective business operation, et cetera? So one of the selling points for working at a place like us, where people who are interested in the holistic view, is we will teach you the retail side. You will get training on the cannabis side. You will get free products. Everyone loves that. But you'll also learn what it takes to have a sustainable and long-lasting business.
Right.
This is skill and set of knowledge that you can take and apply anywhere else in the retail industry. We'd love it if they stay here, but even if they don't, like if they move on in 3 years and go start their own thing and it's successful, what a great success story.
They got the great knowledge from that. They're one of the few entrepreneurs and owners that think like that. I staffed a dispensary when dispensaries were first opening. We got 24 people in there. I got them all in there, and none of them are there anymore. They were very excited about having a long-term relationship with this, and 90 days to 6 months later, it was different. But it seems like Freshly Baked is totally at 180 degree on that. You want to build a family with, the Donna here, Patrona, right here, because I know you're the one that's the boss. So I know that already. And I think, I understand we all want to have a family, right? But we all have families as well. So when it comes to a business family, it definitely depends. I will be relying upon my bosses to make sure they know what they're doing, and to ensure that, just to ensure the success in business, right? And longevity, and so where do you hope to see? Or I really like to talk more in confirmation and affirmation. Where are you going to be? Where are you going to be in 5 years? I want to ask Pam that. Where do you want to see us, Pam? Where do you want to see Freshly Baked? Say I always go 5 years, just for now, right? But what is your plan to make sure Freshly Baked is still in the village?
Well, I think that my vision and my dream is to remove the stigma around the league. And I really think that once that happens, or not just especially all the other dispensaries will be like, sustainable for everyone. Yeah. So later on, like education, and I have long-term plans, projects to implement that I have to put in the right order.
I understand.
How can I start implementing? And I think that in my view, supported by the numbers, the finances, I think it's the best. Going to wellness, education, and of course having like a healthy working environment. Because everyone has to push in the same direction. So
Yeah.
everyone can succeed.
I know, like, Matawana, Leanne.
I was literally just about to mention that actually.
Yeah, I love her. She wants to do a huge one, right? And I told her, okay, that can be done, but the Department of Education in New York City does not want to be associated with any cannabis industry thing, right? So you find a nonprofit that can help us get to that point. There are young school administrators and staff that really want to have speakers come to the school, but it's the politics of it, right? So, because then they feel like they're promoting cannabis, and because remember, we can't have alcohol either. They're in the same box as well. I'm sure they love to like sponsor a football game. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that. So, but we can still give back in a way through a organization that works closely with the cannabis community without undermining, because it's all politics. I never knew.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. This might be that. Glad you mentioned that idea. I was speaking with her, the proprietress from Matawana.
Yeah, Leanne. She's
beautiful. Yeah, she's great. We were speaking with her about this very idea at Governor Hochul's press conference the other day, and I'm excited. I think it's a fantastic idea. Yeah, we're going to try and take part if at all possible, which it looks like it should be possible.
Yeah.
And this is one of the ways that we can both spread awareness of the licensed industry and also do so in a way that is demonstrably positive for the communities that we're in. Right, getting untested, unsafe products out of people's hands in exchange for something else of value that will basically let them know that there's a better alternative and they don't need to be taking the risks that they're currently taking. It's win-win-win. And so I love the idea. I love the fact that we'll have an opportunity to take part, and hopefully it makes a lasting impact on the neighborhoods and communities that are affected by it. This is the kind of thing that we want to be able to do moving forward on an ongoing basis. It might not be buyback programs every single time. In fact, it won't always be buyback programs, but it's community focused, community engagement focused, and focused on basically uplifting people and removing the stigma. That's if we as a company and we as an industry are going to succeed over the next 10 years, it's going to be people who succeed and the people that are able to successfully connect with the communities around them.
That's awesome. I think it's so cool because I'm meeting so many different people who were all talking the same thing. We're all like-minded. We really are. And they have different strategies on how to get there. but I feel like I've never been so content and hopeful in a long time. Ever since it's just kind of weird for me. Um, I'm, I hate it when people talk about my city, like, and they're not from here, right? And I tell them, I don't know what you're talking about, but I've seen some hoods that are cleaner than your little bitty town. Okay, so we're not doing it. New York, because I was thinking about moving upstate, right? Upstate, saw some places. I was like, I have a shotgun in my head. If I'm not near some type of something going on, I gotta hear noise. I gotta hear, ambulances and stuff like that, right? But your journey has inspired. I don't know if you know this. I've spoken to a lot of people and mentioned you all, and they're like, yeah, those guys are. That's a story right there. You all have done amazing work in bringing about this dream of this half joke. It's a half joke. But look, a half joke. They were like, yeah, oh, no, yeah, do that. That's amazing. Just being able to get from here to there. I mean, what do you plan on having your little man running this when he's ready?
I can see that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that.
I want to do
Pam
that.
Pam was always interested in producing a family business.
Excellent.
And now, like, I love the idea, whether it ends up being practical in the long run. I mean, my time horizon doesn't extend past 5 years.
Right,
Anything
right.
I've ever tried to predict longer than that, it's always a huge failure.
Right.
So I love the idea,
Right.
and it was one of the motivating factors. And now I do want to quickly just say, yes, the original discussion that I had was a joke back in 2021.
All right.
But once the state started moving on it,
Right.
then we started treating it seriously.
Right.
And it was like, it wasn't a joke at that point. And it's nobody's going to accidentally get their way
Once
into an
you
operating
realize
dispensary.
you need all of that plan.
No, but yeah, you went for it. Well, that's obvious. Yeah, you need to have. You want to be ready. I could tell you were like, she was the one that got. I could tell you're the backbone. Yeah. Right.
Most
Spiritual.
And around some of the numbers initially.
Yeah.
Big scale.
Yeah. But you're the mama there. You're the mama there. Mama there. So.
Get the flip flop ready and everything.
Yeah. Be able to throw it like a boomerang.
Yeah.
Get you at like a
Around corners,
I was behind her. She just like it. So I was here for your opening, which I thought was great. Your anniversary is going to be next year, like around it's May, right? So I'm definitely going to plan something for that. There, bring a nice little big cake, pop out it, do something. I want to thank you all so much. I really, really do. I think that your journey is going to be long and successful, arduous, crazy, all the crazy, but you're going to be one of the few dispensaries that are owned, that I think that's going to make it. I feel that way about marijuana. I was in her store the other day and she was all over the place. People were busy. They were very busy. You'll be busy as well. And always. I see Con Bud doing Lake Wings, Turf Rose in that store there. Trans LIC. Trans LIC is an amazing location. It's like
We've been right there.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So that's, there's like 100,000 apartments there, right? Something like that. So that's a great location. But with all of you working together and building together, I really don't see failure. I see problems. I see obstacles, but I don't see failure. And that's, for me, at my time in my life, that's hopeful. You know what I mean? I hope you understand, because if they just did this 20 years before, Lord have mercy. Oh.
I think you're right about that. There are enough people that are motivated and I'm going to say like us, are stubborn and refuse to lose at the game and at the opportunity. And there are enough of us that are being collaborative. And the New York Cannabis Retailer Association, their motto is collaboration over competition.
Yes, that's why I like
There's plenty of room for competition, believe me, and we do compete.
Right.
Believe me.
Well, that's what it's
everybody
about.
likes that, but we
That's
do.
what it's about, but,
But
you know,
also,
yeah.
as Pam said earlier, the license title to we are at the very beginning. Like, the main competition for us right now is not the other licensees, it's the unlicensed stores all over the place. And the challenges
The stigma,
and the competition
yeah.
are common amongst us all. Everything from stigma, lack of political representation that was pre-existing, lack of industry support, like the home insurance.
Right.
All these are common problems, and we can solve them together.
Right.
So there are enough people that are interested in doing that, have motivation to do that, and they're not just gonna like drop it.
No.
That I think we actually have a real shot at making this move.
Oh, yeah, you're going to be fine. And I definitely want to be a part of that and talk to you more about that the health plan and getting more dispensaries on board. Because I think what will make you also very successful is having a strong staff that you're not turning over all the time. You have a strong team that's been with you forever. Every restaurant I work with that I saw that I made money and was successful, their people were there minimum 5-10 years. You know, so they knew their consumers, they knew their products, they knew the relationship between boss and labor is very important. Everyone around here seems to be very happy, and I hope it continues.
So do I.
You know, I really do. I hope it continues. So, all right, everyone. So I'm not going to keep these people on all day. We're not going to do this. We are going to come back and revisit them in a couple of months or so. And I want to thank everyone visiting us today at the OG Social Network Podcast. David, Pam, Nicponski are the owners of Freshly Baked NYC here in Little Italy. So once you're finished with your pizza, or maybe you did a nice little tiramisu over here, what is it called? Oga?
There's maybe 4 or 5.
Oh my God.
Well-known bakeries.
Yeah, but it's right down here. This is a coffee shop. It's in that market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also
in this coffee shop
loans in there.
Yeah. Oh my God, you guys gotta come here. Really do. You gotta come to Little Italy.
So many options.
I want to tell you real quick. I was here when the Bronx was burning. Okay, that's between 64 and 72. So, and then moved to Florida with my mom. So to see this city uh, go from what it was, I mean, I played in abandoned lots with dead bodies. We found it. Yeah, that was our day. And if you ever want to check out what the Bronx was like, check out Fort Apache, the Bronx with Paul Newman. You can definitely see that. And the Al Pacino movie. What was where he was robbed the bank? The something afternoon. You know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Don't go there. So, but what you have now is 180 degrees. You all are going to be able to see greatness, I think, and I love it. I want to thank everyone, my support, Fame and Rachel from Exhale Philly and Exhale Media. Thank you so much. If you all weren't here, this would have been crazy. And I want to thank everyone in our cannabis community that supports OG Social Network Podcast. And this will be broadcasted soon. Just be patient. I love you all. Thank you very much. And have a great day. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, man.
Hey, good
That's
job,
it.
y'all.
It was a pleasure.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Anytime. You'll be getting 10 or 15, 20-second PSAs twice on the show for the next 25 episodes. If you choose to want to do the Canada tour with me, I came up with a number that would get all. How many staff do you have?
24 maybe? 23?
Oh, that's perfect.
23.
Yeah, so you can get anywhere from 2 to 3 people per. We'll discuss that. All right. I have Silk Road on board. Trends is coming back to me on that as well. It's more of a industry. I want to get all of our farmers and processors and cultivators. They want to see bartenders and people in the industry first. Then next year we do tours for consumers. So, and then that where I take each, I'll have the tours and take them to all the dispensaries. If they want to do a farm tour, make sure they purchase. Because if I sell, I take the purchase sales and give it to the dispensary so we can go less.
It's like a wine tour.
Yes. But you see, y'all can't be involved in it. I have to do it. Like up there, I gotta buy like, 15 girls at a time, everybody's there, I can't have them do it. We'll give us goodie bags. See?
Speaking of, I'm about to do that myself.
So we want to be able to, July 27th, 28th, I'll be at the Poconos Can Fest. I'm setting up an exhibit of all the dispensaries. I just need like a hoodie, a hat, and a t-shirt.
Good,
That's it. I just need the merch.
All right, you got
Right?
it.
And I put it there, I'm picking it up on the 15th, all the dispensaries that are involved. And then what we'll do is I set up an exhibit of all the New York retail dispensaries for this, introduced
You said July when?
July 27th and 28th. It's in Poconos.
Okay.
So they gave me a little exhibit area.
Oh, cool.
So let's go ahead and put up everything of all
You said the hoodie and the t-shirt and what else?
your merch. And you get it back.
Well,
You get it back.
But we gotta
No,
go.
I'm just saying,
Definitely
everybody gets it back, I just need to set up,
Sure.
and I'm letting everyone know in Pennsylvania, when they come to New York, this is where you need to go. That's it.
Sounds good, I love it.
All right, we need to get a couple pictures. Can you help me?
Yeah. Everything else we have,
Great.
then we can really
Yeah.
invite you thing.
You lost me on the connection. Hold on, let's
Oh.
get the pictures. He has to do it first.
What's that?
I know what you're referring to,
Yeah.
but I don't know the connection to.
What is it? Oh, really?
The